Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about marketing your practice in a rural community. And we've got Jay Schultz with us. He's the founder of Schultz Physical Therapy and is also a Practice Promotions client. And recently, Jay opened his second clinic location in an area in Franklinton, Louisiana, which actually has a population of just over 3,500. Yet, despite that small community, Jay's new location has seen steady growth, and our team tells me that that location has seen almost a 20% increase in patients, which is fantastic compared to last year. So, in this podcast, Jay's going to share with us how he's marketing that rural location. So, this is a great podcast for you if you're looking to expand your clinic and looking at those areas of opportunity that may be in a rural situation. So welcome, Jay. Great to have you on the podcast.
Great to be here. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So let's dive in here. So what made you decide to open that new clinic in Franklinton?
So our first clinic is about say 25 miles east of Franklinton. It's in Washington Parish, Louisiana, very rural, and many people were over the years traveling to Bogalusa to receive our care. And Franklinton already had, say, one private outpatient clinic, and then they had a hospital clinic. And then, I started when people were traveling quite a bit of distance to come to us. And then in casual conversation, there was other business owners and other influential people in the community always made the suggestion that we should open a clinic over in Franklinton. And so as I started looking into it, once I had our staffing in place to be able to free my time up, we really started looking into real estate and started, securing certain things. And then we just went ahead and opened one. We said, let's roll the dice and go over there. And it's done well. I mean, it's done really well with the growth. We opened over there like 2 years ago. So we've grown to now we have our second therapist that we started 3 months ago. So it's doing good.
Excellent. Great. And so did you look at any data for the area, anything like as far as connections and things that you would have there before you decided to go into that area?
So we knew it was small within the city limits of Franklinton. Washington Parish has about 45,000 people within the parish. So although the town is small, there's a lot of people in the middle pockets and more rural on some land that usually travel to either Bogalusa, which is the town 25 miles east, or Franklinton to go to their grocery store or whatever. So we knew there was a bigger pull, if you will, for that area. So I didn't do a lot of data research digging. It was more of like small town talk
Mm-hmm.
and knowing and understanding the community and the demographics and what people need.
Yeah.
And the model is, let's, and I've said this all the time. If people can pluck our organization, facility, the whole everything, team, everything, and drop it off in the middle of a urban, 30 clinics within a 50-mile radius, I want to be able to compete and take that philosophy and bring it to the rural town. Because if you go that way, you're likely to be successful because you're bringing world-class service to a rural population that normally would travel to. We're essentially from a town south called Covington, which is very much more populated. People travel down to that area, which is about 30 minutes. Fighting traffic and things to go get healthcare, basically. And it's interesting because when people don't think they're getting good enough healthcare there, they go to New Orleans, right? And then if
Mm-hmm.
they don't think they're getting healthcare there, they travel to Houston, So
Got it.
we want to take that philosophy and say, all right, we're gonna, bring that class of service to a rural town. They don't have to go anywhere. They can come, at least physical therapy.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it because it's it's good business practice no matter where you are, right? Whether
Right.
you're in a very urban setting or in a very rural setting, you have to give great service, right? And that's what gets people coming back. I think it actually applies even more so in a rural setting because everybody knows everybody usually in the town. So if you're not delivering great care, if there is some sort of upset, that word gets around pretty quick, right? And you don't have the luxury of a larger population to draw from if there
Right.
is something that's not going completely right in the clinic from a customer service perspective, right? And so for you, what's been a little different there in terms of marketing in that rural community compared to, more of a kind of say suburban area?
Think we kind of touched on that a little bit. You know, I suppose I don't know what it's like in an urban area. I grew up in a suburban area on the South Shore of Lake Pontchartrain, New Orleans area. A lot more people, but in rural town, I mean, you almost have to be one with the community. You have to be visible. You have to be involved. Um, you know, they almost have to know you. They have to develop a trust in the business and the business owner and everybody involved. So as far as like, difference with marketing, I think it starts there. I think
Hmm.
it's people, it's the relationships. And then it trickles down to the other nuances of marketing, say like, Google reviews and Facebook posts and newsletters and, the other, what I would classify as supplemental things to, capture your already existing audience and hopefully obtaining a few more, which is the plan, So I'd say it would start with the people, the relationships, the involvement, the being present, which is a challenge. If you have multiple clinics and you're the owner, you can only be in one place at one time, So
Right.
I think that's more or less the difference.
So it's a little bit more networking, right? I think sometimes what I've seen as far as a mistake or an error is that someone goes into, that if they're expanding their clinic locations, right, and they are going to be somewhere in a bit more rural area, um, they think that digital marketing won't work, right? But the reality is that people in rural settings still have like cell phones, right? They're still searching on
Definitely.
Google. They might just have a farm out back, but they still have a cell phone, right?
Right.
So digital marketing still applies, but I think you have to use it in a way in conjunction with more networking, like you're talking about, really getting the people to know you in the community. How can you give more, right? And I think that's where probably, events and being able to speak, and being, if it's a local church or something there that you may be able to go speak at or something, give advice, tips, things that you can do there in that community, they're probably going to start to pay attention to you a lot more.
Right. I would tell you that as far as digital, your website, your Google reputation, you know, like I was saying, some people choose to go down to a different town to receive medical care. If they're traveling 50 miles, the doctor down there does not know you even exist in the town. So what are they going to do? It's like, where's the physical therapy clinic in
Mhm.
town? They're going to Google it, and they're going to check the website, they're going to vet it because their reputation's on the line too. And that's where the digital marketing is very much more valuable.
Gotcha.
Because you're obtaining more of a referral source that's using not just the patient.
Do you get referrals from doctors in that are further away, like in bigger kind of towns or cities?
Yes.
And so is it something that they've known about you, or something that, let's say, like they looked you up online and then they sent the patient that way?
So just recently, our front office in, I believe in Franklinton, we had a phone call from a doctor from Mississippi, Bay St. Louis, which is hour and a, probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
And they found us online. Patient was relocating and wanted to, hand off care to somebody local. And
Hmm.
we saw called us and we got the patient in. So it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And our referral sources is not, we got a laundry list of referrals up to getting maybe one patient a month from each of them, but it's ever
Hmm.
evolving. It's a very healthy referral list.
Yeah.
So
Because that's one of the things too, is that when we think about it, like people in a rural town, if they have something going on and they need to go see an orthopedic surgeon, for example, they're going to have to travel to the city,
right,
right? And then, but the doctor's office, they don't know providers necessarily out where that person lives. So the first thing they're going to do is typically go online, right? They might go to a website, they might go to insurance networks or whatever there, but um, they'll just say, hey, there could be this place here near you that I see in your town, and they look pretty good, right? And so then that's why having a strong digital presence is key, right? Because that
right.
that can really help um, people from that community who are going outside for care come back to the community for care.
Well, and what's interesting about that, Neil, is so your Google reviews, right, are authentic reviews by the patient. So
Hmm.
I've always said we could put anything we want. We could be the best clinic in the world on our website. People don't trust that nearly as much as a Google review from another patient. So, you're building trust through the digital presence, and that's big too in a small thing, and trusting with the referrals. I mean, when they see that your Google rating, your 5 stars or whatever,
Hmm.
and they have 50 to 100 or more reviews, they trust it. So
Yeah,
I think
that's a great point.
it's super powerful when it comes to digital marketing.
Yeah. So it's one of those things too, like obviously it's the best practice everywhere to make sure that you're collecting reviews, that that's a part of your operating process within the clinic. Um, Consistent reviews, I would say, is really key. It's not necessarily the how many you can get at one time, it's more how many you can get consistently over time, because Google does look at that and people look at it too. Because if you, let's say you went to a restaurant and that restaurant, has a review from last week, and you're like, oh, this place looks pretty good. They've got quite a few reviews. But if you went to another look at another restaurant and the last review they got was 9 months ago, you start
Right.
to think, well, is this place still good? You don't know, right? So consistent reviews are key to
Yeah,
that. So it sounds like, do you have sort of a way that you push that internally with your team?
we do. It's interesting because, our staff are a bunch of givers. They're not takers, right? So to ask for something is very challenging for
Mhm.
our entire staff. So, we tried something in August. It worked extraordinarily well. We did a raffle for, the patients and put together a little gift basket, and their entry, the patient's entry was a Google, right? And
Nice.
so what happened was the staff, it was the pressure of asking for something was kind of off their back, right? It was like,
Yeah,
hey, look, get entered into this raffle. This is for you. And man, we had so many reviews that month at both clinics. It was like insane.
that's
I
awesome.
noticed the industry standard was like 2 or 3 a month. And we've had, I mean, that month we might have 20 or more.
That's
One
great.
location, it was
Yeah,
just, we did, but it was off the charts.
yeah,
And I was like, all right, let's don't let September fall off. We can't have a raffle every month because you have the same you get reviews from the same patients. I mean, we can't, that's not okay. So we may do something maybe next month, but
Mhm.
it's I'm searching for the consistency without the giveaway, to where we're
Yeah.
team, let's get two. Let's get 2 or 3 in this month. It's something easy. It's so hard for them because they're, physical therapists in general are givers, right? And they don't like
Right.
asking for something for themselves. And it's like you hear the person raving over what you're doing. That's the segue into saying, hey, why don't you do us a favor and say,
Mhm.
write down what you just said on Google, So, but
I think that's a great idea, though, like the raffle part. So, like, I mean, there's times when you want to have a boost, right? And it's something maybe you can run 3, 4 times a year. So
right.
that could certainly, get you a large number of reviews in a short period of time, and then you could be working on something other things in the meantime. But I do like the idea of that giveaway, making it a competition, making it fun, right?
And I will tell you, Neil, a little pat on the back to your team, Price Promotion. So I think it was one of our quarterly calls. And I think we had an intern who was shadowing one of our uh, representatives. And we were talking about it. I was telling him how Google reviews, we were kind of struggling with the consistency of it. And it was the intern who suggested to do the raffle.
Nice.
I was like, all right, let's try it. I think I like it. Let's try it. And we did. It was awesome. It was very successful. So I
I
forget
love
her name. I forget her name, but
it.
kudos to her to suggest it, So
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So thank you for that. And so I'm curious for you, how far do people come for therapy? Because obviously there's probably, so many in Franklinton, but there's probably people that live outside of that in kind
I
of the
would
country.
say so it's pretty interesting because you know, Franklinton to Bogalusa, which is our other clinic, is about 25 miles apart. And if you make a triangle, so you say on the base of the triangle is Franklinton and Bogalusa, and then right in the middle up north is a very small town called Pine. And people that live in Pine have an option on which way they want to go. Do you want to turn a right or do you want to turn a left? Right. And so when we get people from there, that's probably a good, you know, anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on what where they actually live. But I would say, as far as to answer your question, um, even in the parishes next to us, they would travel even from Mississippi. We're so close to Mississippi. In fact, I live in Mississippi. And it takes me 10 minutes to get to one clinic and 30 minutes to get to the other.
Okay.
I'd say 30 minutes probably is the distance for most people. Of course, it's traffic. It's
Yeah.
stop sign, maybe a red light, but there's no traffic. So 30 minutes real driving, you know.
Gotcha. So I'm curious for you in terms of your marketing then, obviously trying to reach a larger area, right? Because there's less volume of people within that area, right, than compared to urban setting. So what kind of other, marketing actions have you done? Obviously, we talked about your website, but have you done anything like, direct mail? Have you done emails? Any local partnerships?
So yeah, so we do direct newsletter, we do newsletters in mail quarterly. We do have partnerships with local schools, local hospital with their essentially their partnerships to say like we cover the local football games on the sideline. Um, we do have a contract with the Bogalusa City School System to treat the special kids with special needs,
Mm-hmm.
and there's connections made with that. Um, as far as other connections and partnerships, just being involved in the community. Um, uh, Other means of marketing. I mean, to be honest, the overarching number one thing is just being present in the community when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
marketing. I would even say, actually, I say a step greater than that would be delivering a great service and getting your team aligned with it. And the internal marketing piece is huge, and I think we touched on that earlier. Um,
Is definitely. And so I'm just curious too there, like, so I'm always a big proponent of direct mail. I think it's more effective today than it ever has been in this digital world because it's something that people pay more attention to than all the stuff that comes through on their phone. So you do your patient newsletter out once a quarter. They're reaching out to people, and one thing that I've always find too, especially our patients tend to be, middle-aged and up for the most part, right? And obviously we have some younger people here and there, but our bodies start breaking down middle-aged and up, and so that's when we need PT even more. But those people tend to read more, right? And they're used to getting more stuff in the mail. So how have you find like doing a newsletter out to your patients for you in your marketing?
I do think it offers some content for them to kind of digest and chew on. The thing that I get the most feedback on has nothing to do with physical therapy. It's they want to see they want the gossip of what your team has been up to, and they do like recipes. So we have a
Yeah.
recipe in there, it's almost like, and I hate to put it like this, but it's like baiting them to open it up to learn something about physical therapy.
Yeah.
So they're looking at the pictures, who just had a baby, who just got married, what did y'all dress up like for Halloween? It's these type of things that people, I think, look forward to. And I don't know that that's just a novel thing. I think that's probably people in general.
That is,
They
yeah,
like that other stuff. And then hopefully they open up and read about balance and
yeah.
then have a question, but because the content's great. The content about physical therapy to us is top notch, right? We're PT. We love, what's great for them to learn about it. But
Mhm.
people, to the patient, they like that. What the kids call it the T. They like that other T.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
I think that's a great point because one of the things that you try to do, right, is that you have this fantastic list of patients, right, that you've treated before, and people can come back sometime in the future, and they can certainly tell their friends and family with you. It's a busy world out there. People forget about you over time, but your goal is to try to keep that relationship going. So you built a great relationship while they were in the clinic. They love you. They thank you for helping them feel better. And we got to keep that going into the future. And it's so interesting that you brought up that point because a big part of keeping that relationship going is talking about what's been happening in the clinic. And people want to know, how's it go? Have you added new people? What's the success stories from other patients in there? Did someone get trained on something new? Like that just keeps them really attached to your clinic. So if you're doing a patient newsletter out there, if you're thinking about doing a patient newsletter, I highly encourage you to do it, but you don't want to make it very super formal, right? You don't want to make it like just, health tips. You want to create some of the stories from within the clinic and make the human connection part of it, right? And keep them connected to your clinic. So that's great to hear. I'm curious, Jay, have you done anything with Google Ads in your clinics?
We've done some Google ads in the past. That didn't really, for us, didn't go over as well.
Okay.
So we stopped that, and then we just thrive on the Google reviews and just try to keep our SEO reputation going. Pretty good. And our digital representative Brian with Practice Promotions, he's helped great. We get to see what do you rank Google local, you can see that. So we're number one across the board pretty much, which is probably not too hard in the rural town, but you'd have to have some intent. It can't just, we have extraordinarily focused on Google reviews and our online reputation. And with the help of him, he kind of helped guide to help us understand how do we go about doing this, So yeah, we've done it in the past, and I think we stopped doing it maybe about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah, it can be a variable in a rural community. One thing I do like about using Google Ads is that people do, they're searching, right? And it can be like what we just talked about, where even physicians groups that might be in, some of the bigger towns, and they're trying to find people in the area. The search part of Google Ads can get you to the top for one. But the nice thing with Google Ads is that you can actually set radiuses around the clinic. You can target certain smaller towns, or you want to target bigger cities that you could pull from to your area if patients are going out that way. So it's definitely one of those things that you gotta try and see how you can incorporate that into your strategy. But you have to work at being strategic with it as far as what areas that you're really trying to target with your ads, right? From that perspective. Same thing goes for like Facebook. If you're doing Facebook ads in a rural setting, you want to really try to look at the targeting part of it, right? The location, where you can have it show up, because you want to, you have to cast a wider net, because people will drive further away to come see you, for that aspect, right?
Yeah, we've done Facebook. I mean, that's almost goes without saying in a rural town. But the only Facebook ads we've really done was when we needed a support staff or hiring. We've done Facebook ads with that. But the newsletters and the constant social media posts, the frequency of it to keep yourself available but not overwhelming. That's something else that we've done with the help of Practice Promotions as well. So yeah, with Facebook actually helps as well with the other piece of digital marketing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And so is there anything that you found that may not have worked, that you tried something before and it didn't work as well for you as you thought it would?
I would say that Google Ads.
Okay.
And I think that, and I don't think it doesn't work. I think just in a rural town, if you're of one of a few clinics, and you're more intentional about focusing on your SEO and your online reputation, kind of are at the top anyway. So,
Gotcha.
So I feel like that those resources, those financial resources, could be allocated somewhere else that might be more productive for the smaller town versus to Google Ads.
Gotcha. I do think it comes also, like what we've been talking about, the content marketing, I think is even more, it's something you need to be doing in your clinic anyway, regardless of where you're at. But I think in a rural setting, it's like even more important in terms of your content marketing. Obviously there's things that you have like tips and what's going on in the clinic, patient newsletters, blogs, like all that kind of stuff that you're sending out, and obviously doing events and networking and things like that. But that comes back to a lot of like, what kind of content are you putting out to the community, right? And I think, again, that's even more important in a rural setting. It's still important in an urban setting, but those relationships are more powerful in a rural setting for sure.
Right.
And was there anything that went really well in your marketing that surprised you?
I think that, and this is probably how everything's tied together in a clinic. I think that what I would call the internal market is to us is king of a lot of things. And I think that speaks to your staff. It speaks to how aligned are they with your mission and vision. How well are you as an owner taking care of those people to a point where they see potential growth within your clinic? Or you getting buy-in with them? Because I know in this right now you hear these words left and right is, PTs, the shortage, the retention, all of these things, and it's like, knock on wood for us, we haven't had that big of a problem with our needs. We're not busting at the seams to say we need as many PTs for production and that kind of thing. It's not like that. We're slowly growing, methodically, getting staffing in place, getting buy-in. And then once we have that buy-in where our team can see the upside of their career, whether it be specialists, whatever, it's a lot easier to do internal marketing. So I think that is, the root of it. It's easy to talk about internal marketing and tell them, hey, look, we got to, do a good job because, but if they understand the why and they get it, it's so much easier. And then it's just a casual conversation. Hey, look, let's get a Google review if you can. It's easier.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know if I'm surprised by that as much as that's the way we do it, and it's successful. But it just comes from, I like to think, and I'm not trying to brag about this, but that comes from the top. That comes from the leaders that understand what it's all about. And it speaks volumes in the rural town, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you find with your team that you try to, do they help with like some of the content, like getting pictures or things like that?
Yeah, so we talk about that. We have I guess it's considered old school now. We have a little digital camera at either clinic, and because I'm pretty tough on our team not using their personal cell phones. Like one of our, just a pet peeve. I'm probably old school. It's like, look, cell phones are almost off limits in the clinic, which is hard to do, you know, especially with our younger staff.
Yeah.
But it interrupts production. So I'm like, hey, look, no cell phones. Here's a clinic digital camera. We got the consent form if a patient wants to be in it or whatever, or just fun pics of whatever. Get them in there, and every month I'll upload them, and then we have like an archive of pictures to be able to select from, to be able to say, all right, what's this month's newsletter about? It's about balance. Let's really see if we have some balance pictures, or we'll see what we have available to satisfy the newsletter. So yes, we do get the staff involved with taking pictures, which sometimes it's a side note. They don't really, in our weekly meeting, we kind of have to bring it up a little bit, stay focused with certain things, but they do it. They do the photos.
That's awesome. I mean, that's such an important part of being able to market your clinic is the imagery, right? And the videography within the clinic. And it doesn't have to be complicated. That's fantastic what you did, where you just have a digital camera for them, or in some places they might just have their, a cheap phone available for them to take, good pictures or videos. And of course, you want to get the consent from the patient. But I love the way that your team has actually taken that over now and doing it, so that when it's time for putting content marketing together, you have the ammo, right? You have all those great pictures from within the clinic. It makes it so much more powerful. And again, I think in a rural setting, it's about creating relationships really strongly, right? So you've got to be able to show what's happening from within the clinic, not just tell it.
Right. Right.
I love that. Awesome. Jay, you've given us some great insights here today in how you've really developed your in marketing for your clinics there. I'm just curious too, in terms of, obviously you've built a wonderful team, and as you've slowly added on people, how do you go about recruiting or hiring or attracting people to the clinic in your particular areas?
So in our area, if we just post an ad, say on APTA's website or Indeed, and they look up our towns, they're not coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost guaranteed. So we have to get a potential candidate in our clinic. They have to feel how we operate. They have to feel the family, feel that every employee that comes through here feels. So our mojo is relationships with PT schools. Let's get the third year student that's interested with seeing and we have the strength of this. Within a rural town, we have to see everything. Like you don't have to be specialized with needs. Like you're going to get some things that you're uncomfortable with. And so to develop the skills, the PT well-rounded skill set, it's a gold mine for students. Because even if you don't choose to stay, it's fine. You're going to be very well-rounded as a PT, and we, our team. So when students come in, they have a clinical instructor. That's their go-to person. But the rest of us offer insight, and they might, shadow and go with another therapist for a day because of their, female stature treating male patients. How do you do that? Well, go with so-and-so at another clinic and see how that goes, right? So we treat the student almost as a customer, offer them a great experience, and even if they don't stay, we planted a seed at least for the future. So, and that's how we've gotten, two of our therapists, one now and one that opted to move to Florida probably a year and a half ago. and then, going to the career days at schools and really being genuine, kind of like this.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just saying this is just what we do.
Yeah. I love how you play to your strengths with that, right? So you know what you do really well within the clinic and the type of clinic that you've built, right? The camaraderie and everything there, and you want them to have a very well-rounded experience. And you know that some of the traditional methods of trying to attract people in an urban setting don't really apply very well in a rural setting. So how can we do things differently? And that you've gone on the, working with the universities and the internship programs to really develop leads in that way, and then create that rich experience for them, show them that it's different, and so kudos to you for putting that together and making that a big part of how you draw great therapists to you. Excellent. So Jay here, just curious for you in terms of final thoughts here, how has your overall experience been with practice promotions?
Price promotion is wonderful. In fact, when it comes to marketing, right, that's when we open. So we are now in April, we've been open 10 years at our Louisiana clinic, and one of the big thorns in our side was this marketing thing that I'm like, I didn't really feel like we had a stranglehold on a lot of things with marketing. And that would be months, it would be, there's some inconsistency with referrals and not really concerning, but the idea was, how do you staff it? How do you staff the clinic with the inconsistency of volume and things like that? So, we saw price promotions and got our website fine-tuned and redeveloped, and then we started doing newsletters, and then we started doing digital marketing with price promotions, and it's been great. I mean, we have really good representatives in those arenas that we meet with quarterly at least. And I still think there's things that our team has to satisfy with marketing, but the price promotion is used as a very big guide to satisfy a lot of the pieces that by ourselves I don't think we would have been able to do. So it's been great. I mean, I don't really have any negative complaints of things as far as how things have been handled. In fact, the new edition, I feel like the newsletters now, digital newsletters have been converted over to, they used to be PDFs on the website, which is not as friendly with SEO, but now it's actually on the back end of the website. So now when people search, the SEO goes up because there's information, which is a brilliant idea. So that's, patients can go and click on it and see all the different past newsletters if there's information they're interested in. So yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Thanks for that great feedback there, Jay. Really appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to be working with you. Any final words of advice for our listeners out there in terms of, marketing in their rural clinics?
I think the biggest thing, and I know, trying to keep it simple is hard, but being present. People want to see the face that's behind the name kind of deal, so just staying present and if you have other leaders that are leading clinics, clinical directors and such, part of their criteria is they need to be present as well. And it could be as simple as just take your staff out to lunch. Just have your team in one of the local restaurants there that people are visible. I always say, my wife almost won't let me go to Walmart anymore because even if I want to pick up one thing, that's a 30 or 40 minute deal, because you can't not go in there and see somebody that you've treated and they want to update you with how their knees doing. It's fine. I love it. But if you're ever under time constraints, it's like you kind of you're wedged on. You got one foot out the door and one thing you're still talking, So yeah. Which I'm very aware of, and I try not to let happen. But my wife is important, waiting for me to call sometimes. So, but no, I would say staying present, staying engaged with your team. Really the fundamentals of doing really good on the inside before you spending money on the outside.
Mhm.
That's super important to us. I talk about that all the time because how, difficult would it be if you don't have the best, well-rounded, groomed, well-oiled machine on the inside, and yet you're spending money to get, patient acquisition, and they're coming in and they're not getting the best care,
Mhm.
and that's not good. So start on the inside, stay in present, keep it simple, and then venture off from there.
Awesome. Great insights there, Jay. Thank you so much for helping us understand. And I totally agree. I think that we can learn so much from clinics like yours there that are in rural settings and the way that you approach the human aspect of it, right? And the being present in your community. And there's so much that we can take from that and apply that to wherever your clinic may be. It's just good business, right? It's good rule of thumb for that. So fantastic insight. Thank you, Jay, for being on with us here today. And to our listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us here as well as our YouTube channel. And we got tons of information for you on our social media channels. So don't forget to follow us there. And then you go to practicepromotions.net to get tons of downloads and free advice and tips on how to market your practice. So thanks again, Jay, for being on the podcast with us here. And to our listeners out there, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click Write a Review. Thanks.